everyone. I'm Tom Hillgardner, and this is the Conscious Father Show, where we two fathers talk about our life journey of being a father and sharing the real life, vulnerable, transparent failures and celebrations and all the stuff in between. This is where it happens. So, Alex, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. How you been, brother?
Well, I've been good, man, and I'm excited about the show tonight because it's kind of revolving around something that's really fresh that happened for me and Cher this morning, and that gave me this really big aha insight to my parenting and my kids and my life as a whole. But I'd love to share the story just to kind of break us off into the topic tonight, and then kind of dialogue and hear from you and what you got to share about it.
Absolutely. Sounds good.
Okay, cool, man. So, this morning, my wife, she woke up a little later because she was tired. She needed to go to work. Currently, I'm staying home doing the full-time dad thing. And just finally finding some groove in that after about 4 months, feeling like I'm, succeeding a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit. And she's ready to get out the door, and we've got a lot going on right now. We're buying a house, and I'm doing some remodeling, and so the last couple of days, we've not really gotten to see each other very much, literally. Like, I come home, and it's late, and she's in bed, and she wakes up, and, we don't really get to see each other, and it's just a stage, right? But this morning, it was on my heart to really have just a moment, like 30 seconds, 60 seconds to just kind of hug, maybe flirt a little bit, just kind of create a little feeling of each other's special. And then, back to our roles of full-time worker and full-time dad, and you'll see you when you get home kind of deal. And in that moment, and, I'm not like tattletelling on my wife because I'm guilty as charged here too, but she was, very consumed with, I'm running late and I need to get out the door. And so me asking her for a kiss or just hold me for just a moment, it came across very annoying. It came across as being inconsiderate of her time. And she left, and we had a series of text message exchanges, and she was still very strongly rooted in her story of, if I'm not present and I'm running late, don't try to give me kisses or anything. And my side of it was, years ago, I was invited by a friend back in Kansas City, which is where I'm born and raised. It was a Wednesday night Christian church, and I was really seeking at that time in my life, and he invited me to come listen to this lady speak, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And I show up, and it's this lady, and she basically, in essence, said that her and her husband and their 2 sons, and they've got pictures of all of her family around her, and they're a beautiful family. And they did a lot of like volunteer missionary work in Africa, and they were very involved in the community and very involved in the church, just like really good, solid people, like really had a heart to help other people. And one Saturday afternoon, the boys and her husband decided they needed to go to the store and get some stuff because they had some event or something Saturday night. So she was going to stay back at the house and clean up, get dressed, and wait for them to return. And she, that afternoon, got a doorbell by 2 police officers. And the 2 police officers greeted her to tell her that her husband and her 2 sons had gotten in a car accident on their way back from running their errands, and had all 3 been killed. And, the power of hearing her tell me this, it was very personal, but it was to tell us this story was, she had so much in her life. She had so much happiness, so much joy. Her family was her life. And in an instant, it was all gone. Everything. She didn't get a chance to tell them that she loved them. She didn't get a chance to hold them one last time. She didn't get a chance to tell them how much they meant to her. It was, hey, hon, I'm going to the store to, get some potato chips or whatever. And then that's it. And so for me this morning, it really brought me to the awareness of how important it is for me as a father to always make sure that no matter how old my kids are, my kids don't really leave a lot without me at this stage, being 3 and 1 or almost. But when they get to your kids' age, 5 and 7, or when they get to 12 and 14, when they get to 18 and 16, when they get to 30 and 28, or whatever it is, I always want to have the awareness, or I want to strive to have the awareness to pause whatever I'm doing and give 30 seconds of my life, 30 seconds of letting them know, hey guys, I love you, have a good time, and I'll see you whenever I get back. Come on, get over here and give your pops a hug and kiss. You know, even if it's just something silly, but just enough to stop what I'm doing to tell them that it doesn't have to be like Hollywood movie, you know, like, let me tell you how much I love you, you know. Yeah. Just enough, though, that I know in my heart that if the tomorrow is not promised to any of us, right? It's the title of our show tonight, is that tomorrow is not promised. And I want my wife, I want my kids to know, and I also would like to have that return, but I, you know, can't control them. I can try.
Yeah, good luck with that.
But you know what I mean? Like, it was a really huge moment for me today, and it was a moment that really, first of all, made me so appreciative of what I have in my family and in my children. And it made me appreciate sometimes how much that's taken for granted. You know, I think when we look at what we have and think about it in what some might think is a morbid way, but it can be really healthy, is what if that was taken away? What if that was gone? You know?
So we before the show started, we talked about the idea and the concept of the show, which is, you know, we're not promised tomorrow. And, you know, one of the things that resonated with me when you're telling that story was, you know, nighttime here. You know, my daughters now are almost 8 and 5.5, and nighttime can never go long enough for them, right? Because there's always another book, there's always one more show, there's always one more story, there's always one more sing-along. And sometimes at the end of the night, after a long day of work for myself, or after a long day of work for my wife because she's looking after the kids all day,
sure,
you know, we want that goodnight period to be shortened so we can get downstairs and watch the show on Netflix we want to see, or get downstairs and have a drink, or get downstairs and just talk to one another.
Yeah, have some time for each other.
Have some time for each other. And there's a lot of times, and I'll just speak for myself, even though I know Jen feels the same way, but I'm the one talking here, is, you know, when I am walking down the stairs and Amron says, come back for one more hug. Mm-hmm. And on that night, I decide, hey, no, I've given my hugs, I've kissed you goodnight, I've read you the book, it's time for bed. And I continue down so I can go watch that show, have that drink, have that conversation. When I'm looking back at my parenting life, and I'm trying not to put too much pressure on myself, but when I'm looking back at my parenting life, will I have rather gone upstairs for that extra 30 seconds to give her that extra snuggle, that extra kiss, that extra hug, or is it more important for me to go downstairs and start that part of my night? Which isn't to say that part of the night isn't important. It is. Yeah. You need that time. But, you know, one of the things, you asked me this question very, very long time ago, and I don't know if you remember it, but you asked me that when you look back at your life, what do you want your legacy to be? Mm. And you followed it up with, what if you had to answer that question tomorrow? Mm. To speak to your point about this woman who lost her family and wasn't prepared for it, and it happened in an instant.
Yeah.
Well, when I look back at my life, what do I want my legacy to be? Do I want my legacy to be the one that gave 30 extra seconds to my daughter so I can give that extra book, snuggle, kiss, hug? Mm-hmm. Or do I want to rush downstairs so I can watch that Netflix show?
Right.
And I don't know the percentage, but let's call it 8 out of 10 should be that guy walking back upstairs and giving them that extra attention.
It's a lot of stairs, man. You got a lot of stairs.
You know what I mean, though? Because it is. It all goes back to that, man.
Absolutely.
you never know what's going to happen. Tomorrow isn't promised.
Yep.
But what is this moment we get to choose what we do with this moment. And if you wouldn't mind, if I could just no, go ahead, because I have something else I'd like to add to your experience from this morning, but
okay.
I want to hear your comments.
Okay, well, I'll throw my 2 cents in real quick and then hear what you had to say. But it was something that, we came up in our conversation today talking about what, we wanted to talk about on the show tonight. And that was, so many times we as human beings, we have to hit the bottom of the barrel before we have the awareness or the waking up moment. We have to either get to the point where we're about ready to get a divorce, or we have to get to the point where we're financially going bankrupt, or we have to get to the point where we have come down to, we've not taken care of our body and we somehow come down with a serious illness or a disease or something. And then we realize how much our family or how much our children or how much the things that we take for granted mean to us. And one of the questions that I have been asking myself for a number of years, and I like to keep that question on my foot on that exhaust, in a sense. I like to keep some connection to this question, and that is, how can I create awareness of what I have, and so that I can express gratitude or appreciation for that without going to destruction, without losing my job, without getting a divorce, without, coming down with an illness. I mean, if life brings any of that to me, I'll face it, but that it doesn't have to take that in order for me to create change, in order for me to step into the person that I want, the legacy that I want, to leave behind.
Yeah, you know what? I don't have a good answer for it, because if I did, I'd be living it. Do you know what I mean? And I feel as though I'm not in that space yet, but I'm moving in a space that doesn't lend itself to finding that answer.
Well, I know you well enough, Alex, and I would say that you've got your foot on the dance floor.
For sure.
Maybe it's a toe at sometimes, but you've got some of your essence leaning in that direction of striving and being mindful and aware of your, what you have.
And I think one of the biggest ways to, like you said, avoid that cataclysmic, catastrophic ending, if you want to just call it that for sake of argument, right?
Yep.
Is one, it's communication with you or whomever in your spouse or significant other. That has to be on the forefront of everybody's mind. There's got to be the commonality of wanting to come to a resolution. It can't be one person wanting the resolution where the other person is just okay with status quo, or not willing to put the effort in, or not willing to listen. It needs to be collaborative, right?
Yeah.
And this that brought me to your story this morning. You were talking about you just wanting that one extra 30 seconds to hug Cher and be together with Cher and have a connectivity with Cher. And I also think that is very dependent on one's life experience at that time. You coming from the direction of that story that you were sharing with me, and the importance of knowing that tomorrow isn't promised. Cher, I don't want to speak to her, but I have an analogy. With me, I like to call Jen, my wife, once a day just to say hi. I shared with you more times than not, when she picks up that phone, she's frustrated that I'm even calling. I'm inconveniencing her that I'm giving her a call. Right?
She's watching kids and she's got.
And I internalize it. I take it personally, because I'm like, I need to talk to my family once a day just to check in, to give myself a reality check. And so I internalize that and I get offended. But her perspective is, she feels as though she can't accomplish one adult task during the course of the day without it being interrupted. So my phone call to talk about nothing, in her mind, is an additional inconvenience. So I've been trying to do a better job of looking at her perspective, opposed to being offended that she doesn't want to spend that time, that connectivity with me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the essence of this show as we wrap up here tonight is just to, for all of us to keep some awareness of how important your children are and your spouse, and to not let your job or your task at hand, if it's taking out the trash or if it's mowing the yard or if it's whatever, you're going to do it. You're going to mow the yard. You're going to go to work. You're going to do whatever you're going to do. But don't let it consume you so much that you can't pause for 60 seconds and maybe wrestle with your kid, or, pick your kid up and throw them and catch them if they're of that size, or just give them a big old hug and kiss and tell them go have fun, juice them up with happiness and love and let them know that they are the world to you.
You know what, in conclusion, because this is, when my kids were little, I made a promise with myself. I said, whenever my kids stopped and said, hey, will you play with me? I said, my answer is always going to be yes. Because I can put down the checkbook, I can put down the dishes, I can stop folding the laundry. Will you play with me? And the answer would always be yes. And it doesn't have to be 5 minutes, it doesn't have to be 30 minutes, maybe it can be 2 minutes. And I haven't kept that promise every single time.
Yeah.
But I feel as though I keep it enough. But I can do better.
Yeah. I didn't keep that one today. Dang it.
All right, brother.
All right, man. Hey, great show. Thanks everybody for tuning in. And we've got some really exciting topics because Alex and we're going through some pretty huge life changes individually and with our families right now. And it's definitely dusting a lot of stuff up from underneath the rug, and we're excited to share those with you guys. So stay tuned, and we'll be around.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Here, Alex. All right, man.
Bye.